I never screamed at anyone. I never slammed a door or raised my voice. I never thought of myself as someone who could destroy a life. That's the lie I lived with for years. The truth is quieter. That's what makes it dangerous. I worked behind a desk. Clean hands. Neutral face. A badge that opened doors I didn't own and a title that sounded boring enough to be harmless. People imagine power as something loud, men in suits shouting, fists on tables, threats delivered with confidence. But my power was a checkbox. A stamp. A signature at the bottom of a page that most people never read. I didn't feel powerful. I felt tired. Every morning I sat under lights that made everyone look sick. The kind of lighting that erases shadows and pretends clarity is honesty. Files arrived in stacks, always heavier than they looked. Each one carried a name, but I learned quickly not to say those names in my head. Names turned paper into people, and people slowed you down. Efficiency was praised. Speed was rewarded. Hesitation was treated like incompetence. The first time I hesitated, my supervisor didn't scold me. He smiled. That was worse. You're thinking too much, he said gently, like a father correcting a child's posture. Our job isn't to decide what's right. Our job is to decide what fits. Fits the regulation. Fits the time frame. Fits the precedent. So I learned to fit. I told myself I was small. One piece in a large system. That if I refused, someone else would simply replace my signature with theirs. That my resistance would change nothing except my employment status. That logic is very comforting. It wraps guilt in practicality. One afternoon, a file landed on my desk that felt different. Not heavier, thinner, actually. Thin files are worse. They mean there's no room for ambiguity. No excess evidence to hide behind. Just facts, reduced to their most efficient shape. I remember the color of the folder. Pale yellow. Slightly bent corner. Someone had written a note in the margin, careful handwriting, almost apologetic. The case itself was simple. Too simple. A missed deadline. A form submitted incorrectly. A requirement unmet by exactly 3 days. 3 days that erased years of compliance. The policy was clear. Deny. I stared at that word longer than I should have. Not because I was confused, but because for the first time, I imagined the moment on the other side of the decision. The envelope being opened. The silence after reading. The recalculation of a future that had just been quietly altered. I could delay it. Request additional verification. Escalate it upward. All legal. All allowed. But delay created backlog. Escalation invited attention. Attention invited questions. Questions invite responsibility. So I didn't. I stamped the page. The sound was dull. Final. Not dramatic at all. Just rubber meeting paper. I placed the file on the outgoing stack and moved on to the next one. That's how systems survive, by training people to move on quickly. I told myself I'd forget about it. I didn't. Weeks passed. Then months. The file returned once, as an appeal. Thicker now. Angrier. Full of explanations that arrived too late to matter. I skimmed it faster than the first time. Speed felt like armor. Denied again. This time I didn't hesitate at all. That should have scared me. Years later, I no longer work there. People assume that leaving cleans you. That once you exit a system, it releases its grip on you. They're wrong. Systems don't need buildings to survive. They live in language. In habits. In the excuses you reach for when something inside you shifts uncomfortably. I still hear that stamp sometimes. Not the sound, the feeling. The weightless certainty of a decision that didn't feel cruel in the moment, only correct. That's what power does when it's diluted. When it's shared so thinly that no one feels responsible for it anymore. I used to think monsters were obvious. That harm announced itself with intent. Now I know most damage is done by people who never believe they're doing damage at all. I didn't hate anyone. I didn't benefit personally. I didn't break the rules. And yet, if I had used the authority I claimed not to have, someone's life would have unfolded differently. Not better. Not perfect. Just differently. That's what still keeps me awake. Not the certainty of wrongdoing, but the possibility of mercy that I ignored because it was inconvenient. Power isn't loud. It doesn't threaten. It doesn't need anger. Sometimes it just signs papers and goes home on time. If you're listening to this and thinking, I've said that too, I was just doing my job, then understand this: silence is not neutrality. Procedure is not innocence. And choosing not to choose is still a decision. I learned that too late. And the system thanked me for my efficiency.